Welcome to the Holistic House podcast. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating topics in modern wellness, the gut-brain connection. How does your gut affect your mood, sleep, and even resilience to stress? Joining me today is Katrina Ellis, a clinical naturopath with over 30 years of experience helping clients transform their health from the inside out. She's here to unpack the clinical science and the holistic practices that keep your microbiome and your mind in peak performance. How's that intro?
Hi, Carter. That's a wonderful introduction.
Yeah, just started off. I've
Yeah.
heard people say that the gut is like our second brain and it has its own nervous system. Is this true?
That's 100% true. The gut actually has more neurons than the spinal cord itself. There are 100 million neurons within the gut that travel from the gut right up to the brain through that big wandering nerve known as the vagus nerve. So it's like its own mini internet.
True. What is the vagus nerve?
Oh, so the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in the human body. And basically the vagus nerve has a connection from the brain all the way down the middle of the body towards the gut. And basically it helps with tone, nervous system function, and it's an interconnecting nerve between the gut and the brain. It's we call it the meandering nerve. So it's very long and it's supremely interconnected between these areas of the body.
True. So does our gut influence like our moods at all?
The gut basically controls how we feel, how we respond to stress, memory, mood, everything. So basically, it's not just the fact that it's transmitting energy and nerves through the body from the gut to the brain, but it's also the fact that 90% of the body's serotonin is made within the gut and 70% of the body's dopamine. Right? So serotonin, as we know, what is it? It's our happy chemical, anti-anxiety, it helps us socialize, and whereas dopamine, what is dopamine? It gives us a great mood, memory, motivation, movement. So considering that, most of it is actually made within the gut.
Oh my God. Does that include like the microbiome in your gut?
That's 100% right. So the microbiome is responsible. So there's little crazy, amazing bacteria, which we have throughout the gut, which are hundreds of millions of different types in there that are coexisting together, actually help in the metabolism of making these neurotransmitters and even neurotransmitters like GABA, right? So GABA, as we know, is a very important neurotransmitter that helps us stay calm in stressful situations. Right? So if we don't produce enough GABA, we could have a panic attack, or we start to worry and we start to get consumed with fear. So a lot of what is happening as far as how we feel with our nervous system is controlled by our actual gut health.
Okay, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and like the connection. Is there any kind of important information you'd want people to know about that gut-brain connection?
Yes, so basically when we call the gut, a lot of people call it our second brain. I actually think it's our first brain, right? The reason for that is that when we get a gut feeling, we can transfer information from the gut faster to the brain than the brain can transfer it back, right? So basically it's faster than conscious thought, right? So when you get that gut feeling, the gut is always right. What's really important about the gut is when we're talking about the gut, we're talking about different areas like the stomach, the pancreas is involved. But primarily today, we're probably talking more about our gut microbiome, right? So the importance of the gut microbiome is that all these different bacteria that we have in the gut, and we're discovering more every single day, has a role in very important functions like producing energy, repairing our body's DNA, keeping inflammation down. There's so many functions. Even our metabolic health is controlled via the gut, right? So primarily, so many people are concentrating on, I've got to help with insulin resistance. I need to take berberine. My metabolism isn't great, or I've got to repair my DNA. I need B12 and folate. But what they're not thinking is that within the gut, these microbes help us to metabolize these things, and they actually control the function of everything that's happening within the rest of the body, including our mitochondria.
So would you say the gut is the root of it all? Like, for lack of a better term, it's the root of like all health nearly?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I'm just loving it nowadays. But because it's become really widely known, and it's being researched by scientists, doctors, they're even starting to cotton on to it. When I started studying over 35 years ago, that was the first thing I was ever taught. Basically, that all disease stems from gut health, and that was 35 years ago. So we were taught always begin with the gut. Restore gut health, and you'll see body health start to come back. So I would say 99% of the time, most of the problems that I see stem from poor gut health, right? And it's probably more nowadays as well, because within our environment, we're loaded with thousands of new chemicals, pesticides, glycophosphates, microplastics, you name it. We're being over-vaccinated, all types of things and chemicals are getting into our system. Yeah. I didn't say not vax, but over-vaccinated. Look, so all types of chemicals are getting into the body, and then they get into the gut lining and they start to destroy some very important microbes, and that allows the bad microbes to flourish, right? Leading to all types of conditions like SIBO, gut dysbiosis, IBS symptoms, Crohn's, inflammatory bowel disorders, you name it, right? So the problem with that is it will start to stem into other body conditions like Parkinson's, which is being linked to SIBO or dysbiosis, Alzheimer's, all of these types of things, because a lot of our vitamins are also metabolized within the gut.
Do you reckon, do you think are the most prominent gut health problems nowadays?
As far as conditions go?
Conditions,
yeah. So probably the most common one now is dysbiosis or SIBO, which SIBO, they're basically the same thing. So it stands for small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, basically. So it is probably one of the most common conditions that you will see, but that condition can also lead to a variety of other problems. The second one that we see a lot is leaky gut, which is known as intestinal permeability. And there's a lot of drivers for things like that. So if we look at it, stress is one of the biggest ones, right? So when we're stressed, we shunt blood supply away from the gut lining because we've got to fight and get some adrenaline. When we do that, there's no oxygen and blood coming into the lining. It starts to become more damaged, more permeable, and little tiny holes start to develop. So things like this, taking lots of medications as well, can damage the gut lining. Alcohol, too much caffeine, a little bit of caffeine's fine, but too much caffeine, eating a processed diet, too much sugar, all of these things start to destroy our healthy gut microbiome and also start to damage our lining, creating tiny little spaces which allow the wrong liposaccharides and particles to get through.
Okay, so what happens once you have a permeable gut?
So once your gut lining becomes permeable and you're not repairing it properly, what starts to happen, this can be open the pathway or the doorway to autoimmune conditions. So when we start to get diagnosed with things like fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, or anything autoimmune, we need to go back to the origin of the problem, and that's always the gut, looking at gut health. So what went wrong in the gut for you to get intestinal permeability or leaky gut? The reason why it can drive these conditions is as it lets the wrong proteins or lipopolysaccharides, all of these substances through that should stay where they're meant to be within the gut, and they get into the blood supply, we start to set up antigens against foods or substances. And what happens then, it produces more histamine, the blood becomes stickier, more inflamed, and it's a great way to drive antibodies, right? And this is what is connected to autoimmunity. So before you start to sit down and go, okay, I need to deal with autoimmunity, we always need to come back to the origin of the problem, which is the gut health. It's very important. The other really interesting thing is there's microbes within there. So we have our good and our bad bacteria, and there's so many of them within there, which we can measure through gut microbiome testing. But a lot of them actually drive autoimmunity.
Is there like specific ones?
Yeah, like Proteus is a common one. So there is a bacteria. Once it's too high, it's an inflammatory or autoimmune driving bacteria. So in a lot of respect, once we've got to a condition where we've got autoimmunity or something wrong with the immune system, it is very important to do an extensive gut microbiome test, like a GI360, a cobiome, microbiome mapping, one of these amazing tests. So you can actually measure where all your microbes sit in there, and it allows you to specify to be able to boost them properly. Because nowadays, most people think you can just take probiotics and that will fix your issue. Wrong, right? I love probiotics. I love them. But the problem is if you've got SIBO or you've got parasites or you've got a problem like this and you just come in with probiotics, it may help a little bit, but sometimes it can make some of the bad bacteria flourish and eventually make your condition worse.
Okay, let's go a little bit more into testing, because I had leaky gut dysbiosis, right? And
That's
I
right.
did some testing.
Yes.
Can we dive a little bit deeper into that? If you were to
Yes.
look at a test, what would you look for?
Okay, there's a lot of different parts to testing if you get a great test done. The testing that we do as naturopaths, or I love to utilize, is testing that looks at more than just the bacteria that exists within your gut. So a lot of the testing will do things like we're looking at different types of parasites, protozoa, worms, Helicobacter bacteria, there's 8 different types. So we're looking at all the bad things, dysbiotic bacteria like Morganella, which is what you had, which was high. It was picked up from a hospital. So knowing the species also helps you to know how to kill it properly. I love to look into all your good bacteria as well. So we're looking at some very important ones like your Bacteroides, your Firmicutes, Akkermansia, a very important one as well, which we're knowing now is very important in the anti-cancer world. So we're looking at the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, the bad microbes, fungi, yeast. But then you're also looking at things like your short-chain fatty acids, right? So there's a lot of different types of short-chain fatty acids, with the most important being butyrate, right? So we're looking at those. We're looking at your secretory IgA, which tells us about the lining, your zonulin. So there's so many important factors to the gut that need to be looked at in balance to allow you to get your gut health supreme and perfect. And in the process of that, you get your mental health amazing.
There's a lot of like negative connotations around just fat. And even when you say short chain fatty acids,
Yes.
people would assume that's negative. Why are they so important?
Oh, they're incredible. So your short chain fatty acids are one of the most important in the small intestine to help you ferment food correctly, so you can get great absorption. A really important one that I was just speaking about is butyrate. It's one of the most important short chain fatty acids that help you to ferment and absorb nutrition from food, but it also helps to keep inflammation low within the lining. And it's other very important point that I look out for when I'm looking at gut microbiome testing is there's been some incredible studies to prove that butyric acid or butyrate actually helps to break down cancer stem cells.
How?
It unravels them. So basically butyrate, there was a study done on pyruvate, butyrate and pawpaw extract, and they discovered that when we had a cancer stem cell that was tightly wound, when they were giving these over a period of time, it could actually, due to its properties and anti-inflammatory properties, start to break it down so it became more vulnerable for the immune system to destroy them.
Oh my God.
So it is a very important short chain fatty acid.
Yeah. I want to get I know you were mentioning
Yes.
improving your gut health, improves your mind.
Yes.
I want to get into inflammation first, because I know helping that helps your mind. So
That's right.
So
Yes.
let's see if I've got a little question here. Let's scroll through. I had to come prepared today. For you
Yeah,
guys.
it's so good.
I'm saying?
My favorite topic, inflammation.
Yeah. So how does gut inflammation affect affect the brain?
Okay, so like I said before, there's a highway that goes from the gut to the brain, basically. We've got 100 million neurons, which are like chemical pathways of transferring information, which is more than the spinal cord, as I said before, from the gut to the brain. Now, the problem is when we have a lot of inflammation within the gut, it starts to do a lot of bad things. So it can damage your microbes, the good microbes. It damages your gut lining, creates more gut permeability. It uses up your short chain fatty acids. So it has a very big impact on basically
After some technical difficulties, we are back. What were we talking about? Talking about inflammation and how it affects your brain.
That's 100% right. So inflammation within the gut can be quite dangerous. So what it does, once we start to get some inflammation in the gut, and that could be due to dysbiosis, bloating, fermentation, IBS, all types of things, the gut lining starts to become damaged and the tiny little holes or spaces develop, and that lets the wrong particles to get through. So they're things normally like LPS or lipopolysaccharides, the wrong kind of proteins. They all get through, and even yeast can get through. This is how people set up chronic candidiasis. It gets through and it travels up into the brain and starts to affect your mental health. You start to become foggy, you have no energy, you're not as switched on as normal. And that is that direct transfer of inflammation from the gut into the brain, basically. So we definitely don't want to have gut inflammation because it affects other areas of the body. Like I said before, it can drive autoimmunity as well. So once this starts to happen, we get more inflammation in the blood. That inflammation then sets up antibody development and it starts to attack the wrong areas of the body, but it's all initializing within the gut, right? So inflammation can be very dangerous, right? And we want to fix the problem and keep your gut inflammation low.
Sure. So what I'm getting is any issues you're having within the gut is going to cause systemic issues throughout the entire body. Nothing's going to be acute.
That's 100% right. It's obviously a lot better if it's just acute inflammation and it's not an ongoing process. But once it becomes chronic and it becomes a daily thing, a good example is I'm bloating every day, right? That is not normal, right? So people go, oh, it's just normal to bloat all the time. It's not normal to bloat all the time. It's a sign your body is giving you that, hey, I'm fermenting this food, or I've got something low here that needs to be corrected before I lead into a bigger issue, right? So these things need to be fixed because they are a sign of inflammation. And if you don't fix the inflammation, it'll get worse, become a systemic problem, and lead to more severe conditions in the future. Like a very good example is Parkinson's, right? There's been a lot of studies that are now proving that Parkinson is linked to SIBO and dysbiosis, right? I have a great example, right?
I'd love to hear it.
Okay, I have many examples, but one of my great examples is I had a great client come to me only a couple of years ago, and he was suffering from severe Parkinson's, but he did not want to go down the normal avenue of medication because the dopamine medications, they work temporary. You have to increase them more and more, and it's this ongoing process, where you're never really fixing the issue. When I met him, he used to work all night, right? So his job basically, it was on the stock market. So he'd be up all night, sleep during the day. He had the worst, possibly one of the worst diets I've ever seen. That's right. And I was horrified.
What was he eating? Because I'm not trying to diss you guys,
Yeah.
but some of you may be eating very similar. What was he having?
Okay, so nothing was organic. Everything was chemically sprayed.
Yeah.
Everything basically was from a packet. He was having frozen meals. He was actually American, but he'd been living here for years, and so that kind of diet was very natural to him. He was living on sugar, white flour products, very little good vegetables or good meats, so no healthy fats really within the diet. So when I met him, I knew that I had to start with his diet first. So I basically, everything I was seeing was coming from a poor diet. He had extremely bad, I did a gut microbiome. The dysbiosis, he had probably 10 species that were opportunistic, up in their hundreds. So the dysbiosis was incredible. It was using up all his lactobacillus, bifidus species. He had no bacteroids whatsoever. And we know bacteroids are very important species for gut health. So they were non-existent. So I was basically looking at this, and the secretory IgA levels were running at about 150, and zonulin was high, which was telling me the spaces in the gut lining were very wide. Right? So I knew, number one, start with him. I could have given him all these dopamine precursors, which is good for Parkinson's, but I knew he wouldn't absorb them anyway. So I basically went back to basics with him. So I built up a bit of his gut lining before I went in to kill the bad bacteria, right? So I worked on giving him things like zinc carnosine, some Nepal cactus, some beautiful things to start to soothe and heal the gut lining and close up those tiny spaces that he had there. We also worked on changing his diet and bringing in some healthy grass-fed meats with some natural fats in it. I added some good natural fats to his diet and put him on basically a really nice kind of anti-inflammatory diet, right? With some vegetables, but ones that were easy to break down, nothing raw, right? Definitely cooked, because at the time it can be really hard if your gut is not healthy to eat a lot of raw foods, right? Because you've got all of these plant compounds, cellulose that you have to break down. So I went in that way and used some gentle stomach acid bitters, some enzymes, and these lining healers. Within 6 weeks, he was already starting to show some signs of having a bit more energy, because we know with Parkinson's there was a lot of shaking, so he couldn't sit still. He was shaking all the time, almost having tremors in my clinic or tics. And I could notice after 6 weeks they were starting to slow down slightly. Right. And so he felt encouraged. So we started to work more and more on improving his diet. We added some great phytoplankton oils into his diet, some good fats, because we know with fats how important they are. If they're healthy fats, they make your neurons within the brain. Where else do we have neurons? In the gut, right? So we do need healthy fats as well. This is the other, and so many people in the past were scared of fats. But fats are healthy and they do heal. They are anti-inflammatory, right? So I did that. We kept working together for a year, tweaking everything, right? Bringing iodine in, getting zinc, getting his hydrochloric up, and he became more consistent with his diet. After a year, we redid a gut microbiome. There were no bad bacteria left. His lactobacillus, bifidus levels, his bacteroids were at about 20%. And the difference in him was phenomenal. He basically sat there without any shaking, right? His memory was switched on. He had energy. He was exercising every single day, right? And he is like that to this day. And because he saw such an incredible improvement from working on his gut health, right, he now is obsessed with natural medicine, gut health. What else can I do? Because he's seen the change in himself, and to date, he's still not on any medication.
I've actually met him. I didn't know he had Parkinson's. That's what he told me.
Really? Yeah. It's an amazing man.
Yeah.
He's back doing his stock stuff. He's still doing that, but he doesn't stay up all night doing it anymore. He has a beautiful sleep, so he's getting those sleeping hours good. So, yeah, everything has changed.
Yeah. Because if you're trading, day trading is, for anyone that doesn't know,
yes,
the New York market opens up at 11
Yeah.
our time. So he's probably starting at 11.
That's right.
And going, it closes at 7 a.m.
Yes.
So he was basically nocturnal.
No, exactly. And then he'd be drinking coffee all night, staying up, so it was a backward kind of circadian rhythm. I mean, even how interesting is this? They've discovered the gut has a circadian rhythm and it falls in with your circadian rhythm.
What, like the microbiome? Like
yes.
The bacteria in your gut?
The bacteria in the gut. So it's incredible. It syncs with your circadian rhythm. So they go to sleep when you go to sleep. It's true. Yeah. If your circadian rhythm's out, so is your gut microbiome's circadian rhythm, right? And so they've discovered now these beautiful little microbes and bacteria basically fall in sync with you and your circadian rhythm. So if your rhythm's great, you're eating well, all of this kind of stuff, then they're in sync too. And then that keeps you happy, in sync, sleeping well, rising with energy. So a lot of it is actually controlled by the bacteria within your gut.
What is if you're having like late night snacks? I've got to get rid of this pillow.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
The pillow was annoying me. So one's if you're waking up and having like late night snacks and stuff.
Okay, this is interesting. There's basically a lot of studies around that have proven that if you start to snack at night, you actually start to destroy some of your gut bacteria, the good bacteria. So it only takes a couple of times a week for you to just start bringing down the gut bacteria by snacking at nighttime.
How does that work?
So because it's got a rhythm. So it's got a circadian rhythm. What that circadian rhythm does is when we're eating, it's keeping inflammation low. If we start to snack on the wrong foods at nighttime, it throws that natural rhythm out, increases inflammation, and that can destroy some of the good bacteria. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
Why? Because it like wakes them up? I'm like, for lack of a better word, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, well, in a lot of ways, but also basically we need some downtime to not be processing food all the time. So it's like fasting. Yeah. What have we learned from fasting is amazing, by the way. If we give the digestive system a rest, it has time to renew itself, so it can actually do the jobs that it needs to do the next day. If it's spending all its time bringing inflammation down, digesting food, all of that, then it has no downtime, right? It's like anything. And in the downtime is when we repair. When we sleep, we repair, right? When we're asleep, our gut microbiome repairs, so all these kind of jobs start to happen. If we're continuously snacking or eating the wrong foods all the time, there is no downtime. There is no time to repair. And that's why fasting can be really useful as well, because it encourages autophagy, where it removes all the damaged cells, the dead cells, the toxins, all of these types of things.
So would you recommend fasting for people who are trying to improve their gut health?
I love fasting. Yes, I would definitely. Different types of fasting for different situations. So I always say the best way to test fasting is to do intermittent fasting, right? So you either switch it around, so you do like 15-hour window. So what that means is you have breakfast and a late lunch and don't have dinner, or you do it the opposite way. You don't have breakfast, you start your first meal 11 or 12, have your second meal, and then don't eat till that time the next day. So it gives you like a 15 to 16-hour window. That's a good way to start to introduce yourself to the benefits of fasting, right? Of course, then if you're loving it, then you can start to get into water fasting, right? I always people always go, how long do you water fast? What do you do? Of course, there's been a lot of people that do longer term fasts. I heard it on a podcast yesterday. I think you did too. The 48-day. Oh, actually, my husband did. Sorry, that wasn't you. It was on Pete Evans. It was a really great little podcast, and he was talking about someone that came to his retreat that did a 48-day water fast. I actually have clients that have done 40-day water fasts.
40 days?
Yeah, and they're for more chronic conditions. So we're talking about cancer and things. Yeah. I'm not recommending this, because it should be supervised and done under medical condition. But if you look back to Hippocrates' time, water fasting was part of healing the human body, basically. So when we do even a 24-hour water fast, even if you do it once a month, the benefits of it are phenomenal. The brain becomes clearer because you're not digesting food all the time. The body goes into the process of healing, detoxification, so you become clearer. You start to be more in sync with things. You notice more anti-aging kind of properties with skin, everything. So it can be highly beneficial to even just to do short-term ones.
What is it, like your cells cleaning themselves out?
Yeah, so that's autophagy. So basically it stimulates the process of autophagy, where the cells in the body clears damaged cells, so anything. So we have cells in the body which are like senescent cells. They're like zombie cells, right? Which is true. They're like a zombie. Yeah. They're not playing any function, but they're still there within the blood, and they have to be removed. often even when I do live blood, I'll see these cells and they're quite damaged and they shouldn't be in the blood. So normally what should be happening is the spleen and the liver should be clearing up these damaged cells. So all we have in the blood are these perfect cells. But if you're constantly eating, constantly never giving the body a break, there's no chance for the body to clear these things. You know, if we then go, look, I'm going to do an intermittent fast, I'm going to do a little bit of fasting, I'm going to do more gut work, then the body, it encourages this process of autophagy and we start to remove the damaged cells, which allows all these new, happy, beautiful, vibrant cells that heal everything to now come to the forefront of the human body.
Interesting. I want to get a little bit into stress and gut health because nowadays, lots of stimulation, flickering lights from phones.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about stress and gut health?
Okay, well, probably the greatest damaging substance on the human gut is chronic stress, right? So, yes, of course, a little bit of stress is okay. You know, like we get a bit of acute stress. Oh, I felt a stress. I'm moving house or whatever it may be. But it's more stress that is long-term and chronic, and you're not using anything to manage the effects of stress, which is damaging. The reason why it's damaging, I could note a million reasons here. Some of them, I'll just throw out a few simple ones to do with gut health. If I'm constantly stressed, one of the main things that happens is I start to deplete my stomach acid, right? So how do we make stomach acid? We need iodine and we need zinc. When we're under stress, zinc makes all our neurotransmitters, right? So it makes serotonin, GABA, dopamine. So it's a cofactor. So all of a sudden our zinc gets used up. But the problem with zinc's job is to make pepsinogen in our stomach to help us digest food, right? So when we're stressed, levels deplete, we don't digest well, we start bloating and fermenting. That creates inflammation and it feeds the bad bacteria within the small intestines. The second thing that happens is zinc putties up the holes in our lining, right? So as soon as we're stressed and zinc disappears or our pherols go higher, whatever it may be, or methylation gets affected, these little holes start to develop and they get wider and wider and wider. It lets proteins through, lipopolysaccharides through, and we start to get food intolerances, high joint inflammation, brain fog, fatigue, all of these types of problems, all driven by stress. Right. The other thing it does is it throws up stress hormones. And believe it or not, there's bacteria within the gut that control cortisol levels and how we deal with stress. So if we're constantly stressed all the time, those bacteria start to become depleted, right? Then what happens is the bad bacteria grow up, the yeast grow up, and then we've got a problem where we've got more dysbiosis, SIBO, gut inflammation leading to chronic conditions. So these are just some of the reasons. And like I said before, when we're stressed and we need adrenaline to fight, what happens is the blood is shunted to those areas so we can get into battle, and it's shunted away from the digestive system and the lining there. Doesn't take oxygen and blood into the lining, and the lining starts to become atrophied, and more damaged. So this is some of the areas where stress can have a big impact.
It really is just like a loop that just goes round and round and round.
I know, such a beautiful loop.
Yeah, I feel like once you, finally have some good gut health, you can never go back. You notice that it's night and day.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? Once you know how to correct your gut, and how to keep your gut health happy, you want to stay there because you never notice such vitality, such where you're switched on as compared to when your gut is incredibly healthy. And it's easy to recognize the difference. So you go on a holiday, you've been brilliant the entire time, and you start, I'm going to indulge in a few little things, maybe have a couple of drinks, things. And then all of a sudden you notice your gut health is not as good and you're not as switched on, So once you notice how good you are, you notice the difference when you do go off track so easily.
Interesting.
Yes.
I want to give the viewers a couple of practical tips.
Yeah.
So we'll keep it broad because we're not dealing with specific issues without testing and stuff. But if you were to give some people some quick pointers to fix their gut health, what would you say?
Okay, we're all big on this topic nowadays, but fermented foods. So if we look at the greatest cultures or longest living, healthiest cultures in the world, one of the keys that they always had in their diet was fermented foods. So I would always be adding a serve of fermented foods into the diet daily, which I do every day. So even if I make up a salad or some meat, I'll always do like a spoon of fermented veggies. So what are we talking fermented? We're talking things like your natto, sauerkrauts, kimchis, tempeh, and anything fermented. A serve of fermented kefir is brilliant, which can be anything, goat's milk kefir, normal kefir. Kombucha is another one. You have to watch kombucha a little bit just because of methylation issues, but most of the other fermented foods is incredible. So a serve every day, right? The other tip is using a lot of polyphenol-rich foods, right? What do polyphenols do? They build our bacteroids, right? So bacteroids, if you don't know, there's bacteroids and there's firmicutes. Now, they keep each other in balance. A healthy gut has a high percentage of bacteroids. Why is that important? Bacteroids keep inflammation down. They repair our DNA. They stop metabolic syndrome, so they help with metabolism and weight loss, right? Diabetes, they're anti-diabetes. They also help with cholesterol, right? And this is all through the bacteria within the gut. Now, bacteroids are made from polyphenols, right? Polyphenols are found in all of our beautiful blueberries, blackberries, pomegranate, even cacao, green tea. So all those foods that are rich in polyphenols are incredible at building up our bacteroids.
Is there any caveats with fermented foods? Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So if you have too much gut dysbiosis, you do have to watch fermented foods because it can fuel the dysbiosis even more, right? So if it's only a little bit of like a few bacteria and that, it's healthy. But in some people, they have some very bad SIBO, we call it. So when you have SIBO, often people with SIBO have to go on a SIBO diet or a FODMAPs type of diet, right? And the reason why is a lot of these healthy foods like garlic, onions, even sweet potato are prebiotic foods. And those prebiotics flourish the bacteria, right? So in those situations, it can make it worse, right? So they're the only situations where you have to watch. That's why I always suggest it's great to see a good practitioner. If you do have a lot of gut problems, to do a great gut microbiome testing and have it analyzed so you know where to start to get it right.
I feel like testing is severely underrated nowadays.
Me too. And often my clients, this is another interesting, will come in and go, yeah, I had a stool test. And I go, oh, where did you do it? And they'll go, oh, my doctor did a stool test. And I look at it and I go, okay, it's got 3 parasites on it. It's got 3 bacteria. It didn't show you anything. Oh, and they said I'm fine. I'm great. But I'm still bloating every day and farting and burping. And, and I'm like, that is not a proper stool test. Look. So to do one, you want to do a good one. And you know what? It is underrated. And the beauty now is every single day they're adding more bacteria to them. They're adding new markers that they've found every day, and it's getting broader and broader and broader. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is like an ecosystem.
Oh my God. It's so exciting. I know, I love my research, and I know you love your research too. But every day, I mean, even this is something I love. Many years ago, I learned about Akkermansia, mucophilia. Now, it's a bacteria. It's an awesome bacteria, right? How I learned it was because I do so much cancer work. There's an amazing doctor in America who's one of the best immunotherapy doctors in the world that's had the greatest success with stage 4 cancers. So he's in the medical world doing immunotherapy. But many years ago, one of my clients went to see him, and he would not put anyone onto immunotherapy unless they did a gut microbiome.
Okay.
Right? And what he was looking for is that they had high Akkermansia levels. I was fascinated. And basically he said, your immunotherapy is not going to continue to work unless your Akkermansia is high.
Why's that?
So as we know, the gut controls 70 to 80% of the immune system.
Okay.
Right? So we all go, oh, I've got to boost my lymphocytes, got to boost natural killer cells. Of course you do, right? But 70 to 80% of the whole immunity is housed within the gut, right? So Akkermansia is one of the most important bacteria that they've discovered, and it's a mucin bacteria, so it helps to keep the lining healthy. It breaks down any mucus that's making it hard, so the lining becomes really permeable, not permeable, like very flexible, like and no inflammation. But what they've discovered is it helps the immune system. So it helps direct immunity, and it encourages things like, immunotherapy and other types of things to work for a long period of time by reducing the inflammation. So it's very fascinating. So I'm a big believer. So if I have someone that comes here with a chronic condition, particularly something like cancer, the first thing I love to do with them is a gut microbiome, because I want to find out, is your butyrate low? Is your Akkermansia low? Is your IgA low? If they are, we need to get them up to get your immune system strong so it can direct those natural killer cells.
Do you find athletes usually have bad guts? Or would you say it's just certain types?
Yeah, define the athlete.
Let's go. A lot of people are into running's very popular right now.
Oh, yeah.
Long distance,
yes.
Jogging, kind of running.
Okay, so I need to throw out there probably the worst guts I've ever seen. The reason why, and I do work with a lot and I treat a lot, and I've been quite shocked when I've come and done the testing and gone, oh my God, I've never seen such bad mineral testing, vitamin testing. And it's because the body's not really designed to run those extremely long distances, and if we do, we got to remember we're going to generate a lot of inflammation in the process, a lot of lactic acid, these types of things. If you're not removing those kind of things properly, there's going to be a lot of inflammation through the body. The other thing that often happens with them is they're told to carb load, right? So basically they're told, eat as many carbs, you're burning through 4,000 calories a day, carb load. And there's no definition between a good carb and a bad carb with these kind of athletes. What is that doing? Damaging the gut microbiome, creating more inflammation within the gut. The overall general health of the gut becomes worse. We start to get insulin resistance. They have no bacteroids. So your gut health starts to suffer.
What kind of carbs are they eating?
Well, they're just basically eating bread, white flour products, a lot of white rice. So they're called potatoes, just heaps of potatoes, so they're basically, it's almost like a white diet, a lot of them,
It's usually.
Oh, and sugar electrolytes.
Okay.
Right? Let's add this in.
Yeah.
So they're taking electrolytes all the time while they run, all these food drinks, but most of them are sugar-based, so they're just feeding the gut more and more sugar. So these bacteria are going, woohoo, but
it's
bad.
not healthy sugars, you know what I'm saying? From
it's not
raw
fruit.
honey, fruit.
Yeah, no,
kind of stuff.
Definitely not healthy sugars. This is where oftentimes I've started working with them going, okay, we can still carb load, but we can do this healthier. We can look for healthy carbs, sugar-free electrolytes. There's so many great ones out there now. So start to look for these where you're not just fueling sugar within the gut, what does sugar do? Too much sugar, inflammation, high acidity within there, feeds the bad bacteria, dampens your good bacteria, right? So it disrupts the gut microbiome. So you start to get a very poor gut microbiome with very little diversity.
Would you say that's all sugars or just processed sugars?
Processed sugars, yeah. So not all sugars, so there's, you've got your sugars from fruits, vegetables have some sugars, good forms of honey, are okay, because you've got your Manuka factor within them. So there's antioxidants in there. So you've got to kind of weigh up what's the health benefit of a food, how much antioxidants are in there, what's the anti-inflammatory properties as well. So no, I'm not talking natural sugars are fine.
Yeah, because things like dates,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, great.
They've got so many micronutrients in them and stuff.
And the antioxidant potential in a date is incredible. So I mean, the antioxidants in dates are anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. So it always outweighs, that natural bit of sugar. And we need a little bit of natural sugar for energy anyway.
Yeah.
So, and great for our brain. So it's not going to pose any harm if we're going more in that direction.
Yeah. To finish it off, is there anything you would like to say to polish everything that's been set off?
Okay. Yeah. Like as I said, the gut basically is our second brain. So whenever you get that gut feeling that your parents told you about, it's 100% true, because our gut feels anything before the brain does. So we can send a signal from the gut in a millisecond, or faster than conscious thought, 100th of a millisecond, faster than from the brain down to the gut. So keeping your gut health supremely healthy with the right foods, removing the processed foods, keeping your stress levels low, getting great sleep, and getting into that beautiful circadian rhythm will have the overall benefit in the rest of the body at keeping your body inflammation down, stopping autoimmunity and anything chronic. And mentally, you'll feel switched on, happy, and be able to attract what you want in life because your gut is happy. Look.
Mwah. Actually,
yes.
Before you finish, when I fixed my gut, the night, like at the start, I could feel like in my brain I'd have this tension, and I did a bit of research.
Yeah.
And if you go hard and fast into fixing your gut, you would notice your serotonin and dopamine modulating between the gut and the brain, and you'll get like a little bit of tension within the brain.
Yes.
Don't be alarmed.
Yes. Yeah.
So I put that out there.
So true.
It's incredible, but because I dealt with 4 or 5 years of terrible gut health after surgery and
yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah. And oftentimes what will happen is if you do surgery or something, and it's anything related to the gut like that, there is no aftercare. Like, we need to be honest, with the medical system, they're not going to go, okay, well, now let's do a gut microbiome cuts and let's get your bacteria right. So you did a lot of that work and research yourself.
Actually, before we end this, let's go a little bit into that. Because, I had surgery.
Yes.
They checked in with me one time after you look fine. You're skating again?
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. This is so true. I mean, and yours was an emergency one, completely out of the blue, but, and it was major surgery, what happened.
Yeah.
And literally we got him out of there and we went back after 1 week after major surgery, and he'd lost 10 to 12 kilos in 1 week. Right. And basically the doctor said, well, how are you feeling? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. And he goes, okay, you look fine. I said, do you want us to take anything, do anything? You might need 9 or B12. That was it. And maybe you could take a multivitamin. But in my head, I'm like, well, how's he going to absorb it? Because you've just done gut surgery. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is ridiculous because there's no aftercare. They're sending him home. He's had major surgery, heaps of blood loss, iron loss, nothing like that. And they just said, oh, you look fine, go home. So I imagine if Carter was in that situation, my son, and there must be many other people that are in that situation and have to do their own research, try to find someone to help them, because there's so much you can do to repair the gut after that situation that is not part of the medical system, right? And it's all about not just prevention, but the aftercare is really important as well, because you can get anything in the human body back to the way it should be with the right nutrition, the right mindset, diet, lifestyle, everything like that. Everything can heal.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's nothing that is uncurable? To a certain extent, of course.
No, I do believe that. I 100% believe that everything can be fixed. If we were not born with it, we are not meant to have it. That's my theory, right? And I also believe that every 7 years, you actually create a new body. All your cells are dying off, every single part of the body, but they're regenerating. So in fact, up to every 7 years, whatever you put in for those 7 years will be the body that you create for the next 7 years. So that tells me everything is fixable. Everything can regenerate. I mean, even to the point when I had ovarian cancer and cured myself, I only had next to a sliver of an ovary left on my left side, and I actually grew ovarian tissue back.
What?
Yes.
And do they say that's impossible?
Well, they do say that there's certain tissue in the body that can regrow if you're healthy, but it's unlikely, right? But then you look at tonsil surgery. You know, my brother had his tonsils removed 3 times and they grew back 3 times. Right.
Way.
So if you're healthy, your body will regenerate. That's what cells do. That's what tissues do. It allowed me, they told me I would never have babies because they removed nearly all of my ovaries, right? And I had 2 beautiful, healthy kids naturally after that. So it proves anything is possible. Everything can regenerate. Everything can be fixed. If you're not born with it and it's not good, you're not meant to have it.
Yeah, I feel like people lose a lot of hope, especially social media, and you see like what's peddled out there on the news, like you can't fix anything. Oh,
alopecia, you know, like, and then the fear of the phone pops up on your phone all the time, you know, or Hashimoto's. Oh, I've got Hashimoto's. It's me for life. I've got Hashimoto's. No, you're not meant to have it. You were not born with it. So we need to work out why it came about and how to start reversing things to bring you back into balance, right? So
I want to get actually a little bit into how does your gut health affect hormones for women?
Oh, that's an incredible area. It's all interrelated and connected as well. So, I mean, I'll just take one little example here. Where do we primarily clear most of our estrogen? In the small intestines, right? So, and then via the liver through a process known as glucuronidation, right? So, good example here. I'm bloating every day, eating the wrong foods, maybe not eating the wrong foods, but still bloating, right? I've all of a sudden developed, got back. My good microbes are going down. My lactobacillus is low. My, bad bacteria are starting to grow up. So I'm starting to get the wrong types of bacteria in there. I'm in a process of SIBO or whatever it may be, dysbiosis. The problem with that is I need the right bacteria to ferment the estrogen, right? If the wrong bacteria get up, the good ones deplete, I start fermenting too much estrogen, right? So I start to get a situation of estrogen excess and the body's not clearing it. I'll throw it into the liver. I might seep it through the lining or go into the liver and it won't clear through the pathways and I recirculate the estrogen. What can that do? Disbalance my progesterone levels. So all of a sudden I've got low progesterone, too much estrogen occurring, estrogen excess, and I start to get PMS, PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, cysts, all these type of situations. So the gut can be the origin of why my hormones are out of balance.
Is this excess estrogen? Is that like all the pathways and stuff? Help me understand here.
Okay, so there's a lot to do with estrogen.
Yeah.
Because estrogen is cleared in the body through different pathways. So we need glutathione, glucuronidation. So you've got 2 phases within the liver. Phase 1, which works by the cytochrome enzymes, and they play a role with estrogen and androgens. There's 450 of these cytochrome enzymes. And then you've got 6 pathways in the second phase of the liver. And a number of those pathways help us to clear estrogen. The estrogen is metabolized into the 2,4,16 or, we call it different like E1, E2, E3 within the gut, right? So the problem, like I was saying, is if we've got any problem occurring within the gut, we may metabolize them wrong, right? And then it fills up the wrong pathways, right? The problem with that, if we do that, it might start taking too much of the 16 pathway or the 4 pathway, or we start to get excess estrogen and we're not clearing it properly and we recirculate our toxins. The problem is when you've got, say, leaky gut, that's a situation where we start recirculating toxins within the body and we're not clearing them efficiently, right? And this can cause a myriad of problems. Even skin problems can occur because of this. So, yes, the pathways, a lot of those pathways have to do with what you're eating, how well the gut works, what you're taking in from the environment. Are your methylation genes working properly, right? So it's very, I'm big on DNA. We'll have to do massive podcasts on this.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll save that for another
Yeah,
day.
we'll save that. It's my favorite area. But, once you know your genes, you'll know how you methylate estrogen and hormones correctly. So that way you'll know, do I have any impact on not removing them? For instance, if I've got a double comped, do I need more magnesium to break down my estrogen when I'm under stress? So there's all these great little intricate things that can be measured, but you can correct. Right? So you can live your life optimally, hormonally balanced without getting big boobs every month and bloating and all these types of things, or pain. If you know how to balance things through your gut, through your own genetics, through your lifestyle, using those methods and those tools that we can measure beautifully now.
Do women think having extreme pain every month and those kind of problems is just normal?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
We have another good situation, a friend of yours that came here, beautiful young girl, and she thought it was normal to be in pain every month with her cycle, pain, having intercourse, all types of things. That was considered normal because it was the way that she started her journey, her female journey with menstruation. And then once we started to fix everything up with her, we did a DNA, we did a gut microbiome, we fixed her gut up, got rid of the dysbiosis, sealed her gut lining, got her absorbing, worked on the genes. It's gone. And now she realized that was never normal. I was never meant to be on that pathway. We did have to use some estrogen clearers initially. So we did use things like a combination of sulforaine, calcium D-glucarate, DIM, indoles, to clear the excess estrogen initially until we got her body doing it itself.
I want to go into, what are endotoxins?
They're toxins that we reabsorb. So endotoxins, so for instance, if the gut lining is leaking, we might leak, a lipopolysaccharide through or something like that and into the bloodstream and into the liver, and then the body reabsorbs and throws it back into the blood because it's overloaded. So if your phase 1 and phase 2 in the liver are not matching each other, it can make the toxin from phase 1 become 10 times worse, send it into the second phase and back into the blood, and you become an imbalanced detoxifier.
Is that, oh my God, is that why raw carrots help to clear the gut? And like they say,
yes,
it's like a broom.
That's exactly right. Yes, that's right. And there's certain foods that can do that. So you still have to secrete bile. We've heard of a thing called bile reabsorption. That's when black beans, your carrots or certain types of things. I mean, carrots are great with glucuronidation and they can help to clear stuff. So certain foods act like a broom, get the bile, and they stop this reabsorption so we can detoxify safely.
Perfect. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's great. Got to start work now.
It's getting hot in here. Someone just turn on the aircon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're so funny.
It's been an incredible episode. I've learned a lot today. I hope you have learned a lot today. And if you have any suggestions on stuff we should talk about, please leave a comment. Shoot us a DM on Instagram. Also, I had a wonderful idea. Let us know if you would like this, but we could do a podcast / long form video of an actual consult.
Oh, fantastic.
We could get one of the viewers in.
Yes.
Or we can pick someone who wants to do it.
What a great idea.
Because we'd obviously need permission and stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Would we have to film away when we're doing testing and stuff?
Well, no, we can do that for sure.
We can block the testing
and
then
talk about it.
And then, once the results are there, we can just show the results.
That's fantastic. We just need the person's permission and we could easily do this. Look, sounds great. Okay, bye.